I cut across the baseball diamond behind the middle school with my backpack slung over one shoulder. The straps damp with sweat where they'd pressed into my hoodie all afternoon. The floodlights were off, and the infield was a pale bruise of dust under a thin moon. Most places in our town turned into echoes after 9. Porch lights went to half glow, dogs barked once and then remembered their manners. The air smelled like cold dirt and distant laundry vents. There was nothing special about that night, except how quiet it felt inside my head, the way it sometimes does when you have put the right kind of effort into your evening and earned the space to be tired. I'd been studying algebra at Casey's, trying to rescue my grade from the cliff it seemed determined to leap off. We'd gone a little late because her mom made brownies and insisted we try them warm. Sugar always bends the clock a little. When I reached the chain link opening that passed for a gate, I paused and pulled my phone out of my pocket, checking for a message from my parents that didn't exist. They were out at the Sandersons for dinner, grown-ups only, in the tone that meant we love you, but not tonight. No big deal, I was 15 and a half. I had a learner's permit and a stubborn streak and a house key that made a comforting click against my lip when I pressed it there while thinking about nothing in particular. I pushed the key between my teeth and jogged the rest of the way home. Our street is a short one with trees that make a tunnel when they are in full leaf, but it was October and the branches were more like ribs. I could see our home from halfway down. The porch lamp was on. The living room glowed the soft yellow my mom likes for cozy. Even from the sidewalk, I could see the square of brightness bouncing off the mirror in the entryway. I slowed down without deciding to. They had said they'd be out late, 11 maybe later, and had teased me about being the woman of the house for once. We usually left the porch light off unless one of us was actually standing there. The living room usually went dark after we left because my mom hates the idea of paying for light that no one is using. I stood at the lip of the driveway and looked up the short set of steps to our red door and felt two thoughts crowd me at once. First, that I must have misheard them, maybe they'd cancelled the dinner. Second, that I could hear the TV, and our family leaves it murmuring even when we are just passing through a room. I fished the key back out of my mouth, whipped it on my hoodie, and climbed the steps. The first odd thing was the doormat. It was crooked, slid about an inch to the left like someone had scuffed it when they stepped inside. The second odd thing was the door itself. It wasn't latched all the way. The brass tongue had missed the strike plate. I could see the hairline crack of darkness along the jump like a cut. I put my palm on the wood, and it drifted open without the usual tight little sigh our door makes. I stepped into entryway and said, "Mom," with a voice that did not sound like mine. No answer. The mirror reflected my shoulders up into my face and made me look both taller and smaller. The living room light was indeed on. The lamp by the couch was burning, and next to it sat my dad's book face down. The page dog eared with a grocery receipt. Through the dining room I could see the kitchen light too, white and flat on the tile. It was like we had gotten up from the middle of a life and forgot to tell the house we'd be back. I put my backpack down and slid the deadbolt into place because sudden brightness makes you remember locks. "Mom," I tried again, softer, as if softness could coax the truth forward. There was no other sound in the house except refrigerator motor that always made a cricketing buzz and the faint irregular clicks our baseboards gave off once the heat kicked in for all. I crossed the living room and laid my hand on the lamp's chain. The chain was warm. I turned it off, watched the room fall back into its normal outline. then turned it on again because the dark felt premature, like closing a book mid sentence. The dining room held the kind of order my mom keeps like a spell. Placemat centered, candle unlit, bowl in the exact middle. The kitchen had a glass on the counter with a ring of water near the bottom. That was the first thing that made me feel truly off. Not the lights, not the open door, but the ghostly personal fact of a glass with a mouth print on it. I put two fingers on the glass and felt the faintness coldness and counted backwards from 20 in my head to see if the feeling would change. It didn't. The house made another little cricket buzz sound, and then stopped as if it had been coughed. It was the angle of the blinds in the kitchen window that made me look outside. They were canted and draw the silver. I could see dark shimmer of our backyard where the grass meets the fence and the neighbor's maple leans over like a friend sharing too much. I lifted the one slat with a finger trip and put my eye on the thin gap. At first I saw nothing. Then I saw what I thought was a darker section of dark shift and realized it was a figure near the far corner beyond the patio chairs. Not moving exactly, more like waiting in place for something that will tell it what to be. A man, I was nearly sure, because of the braided off shoulders. There was a pale oval where a face would be. When he turned a fraction light from the kitchen, cast across the window, and I saw that the oval had no features. Not in the way of a real face, the oval was smoother wrong. A mask, the air went thin behind my ribs, the way it does when you have been holding a breath without knowing. I let the blind fall and stepped backward until my calf hit the lower cabinet. My first thought was prank. My second thought was break-in. My third thought was a tangle of images involving news stories my dad read out loud as cautionary tales when he thought it wasn't paying attention. I pulled my cell out. The screen woke up to the lock screen like normal, but the bars at the top left were empty, no service, which we sometimes get if a tower hiccups. I still hit my mom's contact because habit is stronger than facts, and it just hung until I ended it. I spun the kitchen phone off its cradle even though we have said 100 times we should just ditch the landline. It was that no deal tone, no little electric ocean hiss. I put it back and felt the drops of my fingers shiver. I tried the Wi-Fi, nothing connected. I didn't get to feel the panic rise. It was already there, like I had walked into it. The house felt bright and exposed, a stage with all the wrong curtains open. I moved from window to window, slanting the blinds to cut away the outside. In the living room, I realized the curtains were already drawn tight, which wasn't something I would done. I pushed my ear to the fabric and listened. Nothing, no footsteps, no scrapping. Just the idea of a person standing quietly on our lawn with a face that wasn't his. I went to the front door to double check what I thought I'd already done. The deadbolt was set. I flicked the bottom leg out of habit. Then I turned toward the side hall where the little powder room is and saw that the window there, the one my mom likes to crack to get the one is using. I stood at the lip of the driveway and looked up the short set of steps to our red door and felt two thoughts crowd me at once. First, that I must have misheard them. Maybe they'd cancelled the dinner. Second, that I couldn't hear the TV and our family leaves it murmuring even when we are just passing through a room. I fished the key back out of my mouth, wiped into my hoodie, and climbed the steps. I went to the front door to double check what I thought I'd already done. The deadbolt was set. I flicked the bottom lock out of habit. Then I turned toward the side hall where the little powder room is and saw that the window there, the one my mom likes to crack to get the air moving, was open 2 inches. The curtain near it was barely stirring. I crossed and shut it, flipped the latch, and then it happened. In the small second it took to turn, I saw the front door yawning and hands with it. I had just locked it. I knew I had, but the gap existed, and the cold inhaled drove it against my shins. I lunged my weight against the wood, felt it click home, and set the deadbolt again, while my heart thudded like someone trying to wake a house. It was ridiculous to say out loud, but I did anyway. No, to the door, to the idea of who might be on the other side of it. I turned back down the hall. The powder room window was open again. The latch I'd flipped now angled up like a shrug. The curtain flapped gently. I closed it with both hands, hard, and then round the back of my knuckles, along the steel to make sure I wasn't dream touch. When people say fight or flight, they forget funnel, the way fear takes every decision and pours it into the smallest possible path. My path went up. The staircase has 12 steps, and I took them wrong, one at a time but too fast, banging my heel, my toe, my heel. And the landing I turned left into my room and locked the door out of sheer retail. The lock is cheap and could be bullied open by a determined shoulder. But rituals exist because they do something to the brain. My window looked over the backyard. I parted the curtain with two fingers and saw the patio chairs, the glimmer of the grill's cover in the porch light, the line of the fence. The corner where the figure had been was empty. I held still longer than I have ever held still in my life. The way you hold a pose for a school portrait and everything inside you itches. When nothing leaped into view, my insides lowered the volume a fraction. I backed away from the window and looked around my room like it belonged to a stranger. Bed, desk, the sweater drawn on my chair, the notebook with the corner chipped from when I forgot I was a bidding paper, the notebook with the corner chewed from when I forgot I was biting paper. Footsteps in old houses are a language. I know the knees and groans of ours, the way the hallway when my dad's weight moved from one foot to the other. What I heard then wasn't footsteps. It was a suggestion of weight, a slight settling, as if something had learned where the balance points were and was trying them. A gentle, patient test of geography. It could have been anything. Heat, pipes, my own pulse in my ears. But then there was the lighter sound of something small ticking on wood, like a fingernail, tapped once against a door frame. I slid my phone under the bed because the glow will betray me if I got a message. And then I crouched beside the dresser and told myself not to cry like a child. The smell of my room seemed too strong. Fabric softener and pencil shaving and ghost of last week's nail polish. My breath came out of me in a way that made me feel like I was borrowing it from someone else. I realized in a cold little flash that without the phones, my best option for calling for help was leaving. The thoughts rolled across me like thunder far away. You might have to run. I approached the window again because fear is a loop and curiosity is a trap. The glass had fogged slightly from the heat of the room. I rubbed a small circle with the palm of my hand and leaned my eye into it. The backyard was still empty. The porch light made the glare hard to see past, so I tilted my head, pressed the cool pane. That dark patch in the lower left that I had thought was the grill cover shifted, and the shift became a person stepping into the light from the angle closest to the house. Too close, meaning they'd been right along the siding. The mask was smooth and oval like a blank page you could write anything on. He lifted a hand and put it against the glass on his side. It made no sound because glass doesn't care what touches it. I had a moment where the world narrowed down to separate surfaces of our palms with a pane between. He slid his hand up slowly and then let it fall. I staggered backward and the back of my knees hit the bed and I sat down hard. It would have been almost funny, like a cliche, if it didn't feel like the end of something out loud. I wasn't going to wait in my room for something to arrive. The longer I stayed, the smaller I felt, like the room itself was tight knit to a lid. I dug under the bed for an old softball bat I never used for anything but feeling safer, and I wrapped my fingers around the taped handle, and the weight settled into my bones like a promise. I unlocked my door, turned the knob, and opened it to the dark hallway. The house's nightlights, little slivers of lead plugged into outlets, cast camas of a blue. The bathroom door at the far end was half ajar. I stepped out and pulled my door toward me so it wouldn't slam with a draft. And that's when I felt it pull back. Not a lot, not dramatically, just slight resistance of someone's hand on the other side of the hinge. I froze with the knob in my hand. The resistance vanished. The door swung soundlessly the rest of the way. I lifted the bat. The carpet made my step almost nothing. I could feel the house listening to me walk. I reached the guest room first because it was closest. The door was shut. I pressed my ear to it. Heard nothing, then something like breathing, but when you listen for breathing, everything is breathing. I twisted the knob slowly and pushed the door open with a breath, braced for the leap that didn't come. The bed was made. The window was open a fraction. Cold air eddied around my ankles. I moved to it and slammed it shut and locked it and felt a hot pulse of anger at my parents for loving fresh air so much that they made 1,000 invitations out of it. I turned and the closet door moved a hair. That little answering swing a door makes when you shift the air in a room. I planted my feet and reached and pulled the door wide in one motion. The empty dark of coats and the folded extra comforter and the suitcase that always smells a little like cheddar. I laughed once, a small dog bark sound I didn't mean to make, and it loosened something in my chest. Okay. I said out loud to the room. Okay, my voice sounded surprisingly normal. I stepped back into the hallway and made for the stairs because some part of me still believed that if I checked each window and door, if I performed the ritual of closure, I could shut this night into some manageable shape. Halfway to the top step, I heard the lights crack below near the entryway. The light for my dad's weight, too different from my mom's quick, bird-like steps. I leaned toward the banister and peered down through the spindles. The front door was closed. The entryway lamp, which one of us had turned on, was now casting a small circle of light, as if the house wanted to stage the scene. Within that circle lay my backpack where I left it. The zipper had been moved. It was open an inch. I swallowed. A ridiculous thought occurred to me. If I were in a movie, I would yell, "Who's there?" But I wasn't in a movie. I was in a house that smelled like my mom's lemon cleaner. And I had homework in that bag, and a stranger had put their fingers close to it. The faster path to the back door was through the kitchen. I eased down the stairs with the bat ahead of me like a blind person's cane. The entryway lamp flicked off as I hit the rug at the bottom. I stopped so suddenly my weight pitched forward. The lamp flicked on again. Perhaps it was on a timer, I told myself. Though we didn't have timers like that, I moved along the wall to dining room. The kitchen light was still on and made everything too clean and flat. The back door has one of those half panes at the top you can look through. I stared at it from across the room. The glass showed only vague suggestion of outside shapes. I reached to lock the deadbolt, already locked. Then checked the little extra security latch my dad installed last spring. Sat good. When I turned from the door, the refrigerator door was hanging open a few inches. Silent, no beeping. Our model didn't do that. And a line of cold ran across my shins. There was a single apple on the floor near the baseboard, as if someone had taken it out to deliberate and then set it down mid-thought.